Is your business actually sellable, or is it just a job with a logo? In this episode of Humans of Growth, we dive into the hard truths about why so many business owners trap themselves in their own company, how to scale your business sustainably, and what you need to be doing now to prepare your company for the future. Today's guest is Jeff Parnell. Jeff is the founder and CEO over at JHP Advisors, which is mostly a fancy way to say that you help companies navigate transition, as whether it's a fractional CEO, interim CEO, succession planning, or exit strategy. So Jeff, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Aly. Thanks for having me. I love the work you're doing with this podcast.
Thanks. So Jeff, I introduced the professional side of you, but in a sentence or two, who are you as a human and what brings you joy?
Yeah, as a human, I'm an Eastern North Carolina native, so I grew up in farm country. I was not in agriculture, but I have that kind of agricultural down-home work ethic. I love what I do. I love numbers. I've been given excellent opportunities along the way. My faith has helped me along the way in numerous cases, overcoming different challenges. And hey, I just love what I do.
Awesome. I love it. So Jeff, I want to rewind back to when I was a little kid, way back to 1996. Tell me about you and your first business.
You know, I was really fortunate. My first opportunity was in the late 80s with a company called Overton's. Overton's was a cataloger at the time, the world's largest in the area of water sports, meaning water skis and wakeboards and toys, things of that sort. I met the owner and coached his daughter in junior high girls basketball, a part-time college gig that I had. I started the job, what was really cool, Aly, I started with no job description other than make the numbers work. We were a $20 million company at the time. We liked each other. He threw me into the fire, and it turned out to be the best situation I could have ever asked for in so many ways.
Yeah, what was your job response? I know you didn't have a job description, but what were you practically doing? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, he told me, make the numbers work. If it's not working, stop doing it. And again, we had a significant 8-figure business, and the goal was to grow it. I was assigned to work with a consultant. That was the first real exposure I'd had with consultants. And I had to fire the consultant, which became a big part of the journey and framed a lot of what I do now.
Okay. Were you responsible for helping get their catalog from the physical magazine onto the internet?
Yes, I was. I launched that initiative in 1996, and it was not with any great fanfare. It was an online order form. I had a skunkworks group of folks who believed in it with me. We did $1 million a year in online sales our first year. It became the focal point of the business later in the company's history. But I just felt early on that our customers who were relatively affluent would enjoy it, and it was something to try. We engineered a business model where it's very cost effective, virtually no risk. The provider got a percentage of sales, and it worked.
Yep, because you guys were one of the first e-commerce stores on the internet, because that was still back in the day of dial-up, which there's people listening to this podcast who don't know what dial-up is, most likely.
Yeah, those screeching modems. And our website back then, if you found it in 1996 in the Wayback Machine, it was an online order form. But it provided another channel, which was really the lesson for internet marketing and multi-channel, omni-channel marketing. Be as many places as you can be where the customers can find you. And that's exactly right. People didn't know what it meant, but they found it quickly, and it slowly gained steam.
Yep. So what made you decide to transition out of Overton's?
I had a chance to be a CEO for the first time in 1998. Okay. It was a dream of mine. Overton's gave me a lot of opportunities. What was really cool about that situation, Aly, is every numbers project in the business that did not go to the CFO came to me. Even if it had nothing to do with pure marketing. I was involved with the FedEx program, which really took off, and a number of other initiatives. And it really prepared me beautifully to be a CEO one day. That was my dream coming out of MBA school. And it's something I want to pursue. I had the opportunity, so I took it.
Great. Remind me which business that was that you were stepping into?
That was a catalog company called Eximius up in the Chicago area, a gift catalog.
And tell me, what was your experience like as a CEO there?
You know, it was I'll tell you, it was a great learning opportunity. I learned a lot about culture. I learned the difference between the East North Carolina culture and the suburban Chicago culture in terms of how people behaved, work ethic, their approach to business. I was in a different industry, going from water sports to high-end giftware. So It was a great experience. I had some really good people on the team and love what I did.
Great, I love it.
Another opportunity came along that sounded really intriguing for a lot of different reasons.
I love it. So let's fast forward to, you had mentioned earlier, 2008. Tell me about your medical experience. What all happened? How did that affect your life?
Well, actually, it was 2018, so you're pretty
2018.
close.
Okay. Off by a decade. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. So I was a CEO at the time of a company, and long story short, I had a failing heart. I was perfectly healthy. There was no blood pressure issues, no blockage, but I had a heart that was weakening by the day. I was a little bit on the watch list at Cleveland Clinic. I'd been a patient of theirs. Picked up the phone in January of 18 after having had an appointment the month before and said, I'm not feeling well. They said, come on back in. We'll take a look. And they said, you're not going anywhere. 5 weeks later, I left with a brand new transplanted heart, an amazing experience that really forms so much of what I do today, Aly. It really does.
What do you mean by that?
So what I mean by that, first of all, I have an advantage when it comes to gratitude and appreciating the moment. Beautiful day, not so pretty day, it's still a beautiful day to me. You don't waste time. You hear these kinds of sayings over and over, but you don't know if today's your last day. I was fortunate. I got a brand new heart. I've never felt better in my life. I'm almost 8 years past it now. And again, it's a perspective that really made me slow down a little bit, think about some things. And I bring that to my work. Ironically, I work a lot with older business owners who are transitioning out of their business. Mm-hmm. When they learn I've had a transplant, they look at you a little bit differently. First of all, they make sure you're okay, which I am. But secondly, it's only human to start thinking, wait a minute, what's something like that happened to me? Mm-hmm. And we all go through various situations. So it really, really formed me in so many ways. And again, to say that I'm grateful is not doing it justice. I am beyond grateful for what I went through. I had a great team, new perspectives, and again, physically never felt better.
What about that experience? Like, how did that translate into how you did business?
Yeah, it's funny. I was a CEO at the time, had a great team around me. I fought like crazy to get back into the office 2 months after the transplant. That was quite an experience. My wife, I call her affectionately the little general, pushed me, drove me really hard at home, up and down stairs in the basement to get back. I was pretty weak when I got out of the hospital after 5 weeks. But you know what's interesting? 2 years after the transplant, I reached out to the folks at Cleveland Clinic, and I said I never got to meet the surgeon. His name is Dr. Smadira. Mm-hmm. I never got to meet him because you don't pick your surgeon, you get whomever's on call. It's like a fireman, firewoman. Whomever's on call, that's who you get. And I sat down with him and I said, so what goes through your mind when you get the call that you're on in 8, 10, 12, 16 hours? And he looked at me with these very steely eyes and he said, Jeff, I love what I do. I get the team together and I tell them we're going in to win. And you don't hear something like that from someone who saved your life without being impacted. And you know what? There was no pressure. There was no fear in the man whatsoever. It was all about winning and getting the job done well.
I love that. So you've helped a lot of companies start. You've helped a lot of companies grow and scale. And then also on the other side of the spectrum, how do I get out of my own business?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
There's such a trend today with the silver tsunami. We've all heard that phrase. Mm-hmm. But there's so many older baby boomers in particular who are at the cusp of retirement. They probably should have retired or should have considered it 5 years earlier because of age and various other situations in the business. And they're now at a point where they need guidance. And they don't need consulting. They don't need pretty stuff. They need someone to come in from an operator's perspective and help them navigate. Make sure the business is hitting on all cylinders and then find the best exit plan. And I love doing that. That's really a huge need today. And when you can help a couple of companies, like I've been able to help 2 companies exit this year. And both of them were able to go to their next chapter, which is a lot of fun and very rewarding emotionally.
Yeah, so when I think about like exiting and eventually exiting my business, there's 2 points I think people may be thinking about that. One, when they're in scaling mode, potentially, of how am I scaling this in the right way? And then on the other side, maybe I'm in my 50s and I've built a business. I haven't thought much about how I'm going to get out of my own way because I'm the operator and I'm running all of this. Let's start on like the beginning side. You're scaling a business, you have 50-ish employees. What should you be thinking through both in terms of scaling and then scaling so that you set yourself up for success when you're eventually ready to exit because at some point you'd like to retire or just be done with that business?
Well, you hear this all the time, but it is so true, Aly. Make yourself replaceable. Don't hoard all the work. Don't hoard all the thinking. Find ways to develop your team. Give them opportunities to take risks. Because at some point, let's just say you're in the hospital for 30 days and you're going to be fine. Let's say you're out of commission for 30 days. Who's running the show? Not just holding serve, but moving the business forward. So I'm really big about making sure you're bringing up people, you're giving them confidence, you're giving them opportunities to fail a little bit and catch them, and then encourage and mentor and teach them along the way. That's the first thing I look at in terms of making sure there's some infrastructure. So many entrepreneurs, unintentionally, sometimes intentionally, it's all about them. And sometimes they don't know any about it, but they've got to make sure there's a little bit of a backup. You're not going to be replaced overnight. That's a given, but somebody's got to be able to come in and keep the ball rolling forward in a meaningful way. And that's really what I work with a lot of the owners that aren't quite ready to exit. Make sure they've got some infrastructure.
Yeah. How do you help people switch from operator mode where I'm in the business running it, it kind of depends on me, to there's SOPs, there's processes, there's people in place where they're now the leader, but they're not the ones who are doing all the work. How do you make that transition?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, you want to start thinking several years out. You really have to. And whether it's 2-3 years out or whatever the horizon might be, what do you want, Aly, in 3 years? Where do you want to be? Do you still want to be in the midst of this thing? I run into so many owners that have so many regrets. They didn't spend more time with their spouse or significant other. They didn't get, they didn't take care of the body because they were working 70 hours a week. But what is it you're looking to do? And then we want to walk that back a little bit. Also understand it's not your fault you're a workaholic. You did what you did because a lot of us, that's how we came up. We outwork everybody, and that gets us sometimes to where we want to be to a point. But how do you kind of build around yourself a little bit and provide yourself with that opportunity to take a breather? And you don't just get to the point where you can take a month off, but you need to learn to take a long weekend and then a week and have things run and have people get confident around you to the point where it starts to work like a well-oiled machine. It doesn't happen overnight. And again, it's not your fault. So you can take it a little bit slow, but still be intentional about it.
Oh, absolutely. I think people who try to go from I've never taken a day off and now I'm taking 2 months off. Those are the people who should, because whether that's medical, vacation, I'm having a kid, that's when they get freaked out of like, how is my business going to run? And then they work a little bit on the side, but their business doesn't run like it used to because they were in it and they were the ones running it, controlling it. They were the face of it.
That's right. I mean, I like to use a lot of sports analogies, and one, if you want to, we're talking about college football. So on Sunday morning after the Saturday games, how many assistant coaches get called out for not doing their job? Not a whole lot. It's the head coach. The head coach is usually who's fired or who's ripped to pieces. And you've got to get, the folks in your business who are not you, if you're the one running it, they need to learn a little bit about being a head coach. Give them projects. I like to give clients projects with working with their second, third in command, a CEO project, I call it, to let them start learning how to make a decision, be accountable, defend their decision, okay, with the CEO or owner out of the picture on that decision so they can learn that. It's a very valuable thing. Then all of a sudden, someone can take a week off and everybody's not looking at each other and ways, wait a minute, who's going to make that call? Because that can't happen very easily, as you know.
Absolutely. So on the other side of the spectrum, they're older, they've built their business, it's still revolving around them. What else should they be thinking through?
You got to start thinking about, who might want to buy your business and why. I was talking to an owner literally today about the fact that because several people in the business who are up in years are rock stars. I mean, they're stars in what they do, and they're going to be irreplaceable for a lot of years. You've got to start thinking about how to build the bench up to the point where somebody will want to buy you. Otherwise, you're not saleable. You're just not. So you've got to start thinking that way. And the reality is, depending on how long you've waited, you may not be able to get your replacement in the building. But get people who are competent enough. Maybe the current team just needs to grow. Find ways for them to grow. Challenge them so that a strategic buyer can come in and be able to see, if John leaves the building, when John leaves the building, I can still run it if I'm the new owner, the new CEO, because I've got enough of a team in place. If that team's not been battle tested at all, your business isn't worth much.
Yep. So with the silver wave, what do you see happening with all across all industries? What do you see happening in the M&A space with people trying to get out and they're not necessarily being people who can step in to replace them?
Yeah, well, this is where, sometimes a fractional interim CEO can come in and help bridge the gap for a period of time. Mm-hmm. But one way or another, you have to have some infrastructure so that a buyer can come in and take your business and see a path forward without you. If you don't figure out how to do that, it becomes an asset purchase. I'll buy the list, I'll buy the brand, I'll buy the equipment, whatever it is I'm buying, but you're not going to get prime value. But you've got to start thinking, in a forward way. And I've worked with businesses that really did not do that. And there are things you can still do if you've waited. Okay, first of all, look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, it happened. I'm not going to beat myself up for weeks about it. Where do I go from here? And then you start putting the pieces in place and you offer up a commitment to a buyer to say, I'm going to help you bridge the gap as long as it takes if you buy my company. Also, I'm going to make sure my team has been groomed well enough to take over for me. But the reality is too, Aly, there's a lot of businesses either on the market or about to be on the market because of the sheer demographics of the silver tsunami. And what's going to happen is if you're not prepared properly, you're not going to sell. You're going to sit there and never be purchased, or someone's just going to grab the business for virtually nothing.
Yeah, one of the things, I've had a conversation with a couple people about this, more so in the blue collar home services space, where because that is now very much a older demographic, and there's not a ton of younger people who have trained in the trades who are my age, because we were all taught we need to go to college.
Right.
And
right.
So, and which I have some feelings about that now looking back.
Yeah.
But you talked about buying the assets, the name, the website, the logo, mm-hmm. And not necessarily the processes and getting cheaper value versus buying the business and somebody steps in and runs the business with the current processes in place. What I've heard happening, and I'm not enough in home services to know this for sure,
right.
but you have a lot of bigger companies coming in, buying out all the local competitors. They keep the website, they keep the company name.
Right.
The phone numbers all just redirect to one person sitting at a desk, probably overseas, who's taking calls.
Right.
The competitive edge of a small business that's now competing against other small businesses, the concept is getting lost in home services. So they say, oh, you need your toilet fixed? Okay, here it's going to cost you $1,000. And you're like, that's insane. You pick up the phone, call somebody else. It's the same person, different company.
Yes.
It's going to be $9.97.
Yeah. Yeah, you're starting to see more of that because of the consolidation. Yep. Private equity is definitely in the space now. They're buying up these smaller entities, and there's consolidations in every sort of service field you can imagine. Because to your point, the age, you've got owners who are now in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s. They've got to do something, and they weren't thinking this way years ago. And the consolidation becomes the best play for someone who's acquisitive. Put them together, and I can do more with 7 companies in the same space within 50 miles of each other.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just did another podcast interview with someone. We were talking about, it's like you have the big company, you have the BlackRocks, and you have the OpenAIs, you have the Walmarts, the Targets, the Kellogg's, the Cokes, who own 90% of businesses. Yeah. It looks like we still have small businesses, but to some degree, you look at dentist offices, 25 to 35% are owned by DSOs. By 2030, that number is supposed to be about 54% the last time I looked. So do we really have small businesses if we're not careful, if we're not thinking about exit strategies in advance so that we're not just selling assets,
right?
So we don't fuck over the next generation, so that they're not working for the man, essentially, which ultimately just becomes one of 20 companies that we all work for.
Yeah, and you've got to be proactive. You've got to be thinking this way. You're exactly right. And that every week I talk to someone who's talking about rolling up HVAC companies, rolling up dental offices, independent doctors' offices, concierge doctors' offices. It's happening every day, to your point, where it all gets consolidated and you lose that personal touch. And the man ends up being the person you're dealing with. And that's not the best experience, because all of a sudden the relationship you have disappears. Your doctor's not available, might still be there, but it gets farmed out to somebody 12 miles away because that person's got a spot on the calendar and you don't.
Hey guys, real quick, this episode is sponsored by Parison Network. Parison Network is a matchmaking service that connects businesses to marketing agencies that will actually get you results. There's over 50,000 agencies in the United States alone, and picking the right one can feel, well, pretty impossible. Parison Network simplifies the entire process by doing all of the vetting for you. From the initial agency search to interviewing and vetting the top marketing agencies to getting proposals and helping you with the discovery call, Parison Network does it all. This way, you end up partnering with a marketing agency that actually delivers outcomes, not empty promises. If you're ready to stop wasting money on marketing that just doesn't work, visit ParisonNetwork.com and get your free agency search started today. That's ParisonNetwork.com, PERISSON network.com.
So, yeah, you're seeing more of that. It's very sad. And a lot of this can be remedied, not all of it, but a lot, because some of it's inevitable, unfortunately. But a lot of it can be remedied if you're thinking several years out. You may not be able to think 10 years out, but if 2 to 3, 4 years out, if you could start thinking about your options, start having conversations, don't close yourself off, you're going to prepare yourself with more options. You really are.
Yep. So I know you spend more time on the seller side, correct?
Generally speaking, yes, but I get calls on a regular basis. I had a call last week from someone looking to buy a business in a field that I have some experience in. So it does work both ways.
Yeah. So on the buyer side, you see people who are tired of working for the man. They make their average $60,000 per year paycheck, and they say, I want to build a business.
Yep.
But I don't want to build it from the ground up because maybe I've tried that before and I know how hard that is.
Yep.
And they're like, how do I go about buying a business? And maybe they're an entrepreneur and they're ready to sell their business, buy another one that's honestly home services because AI can't replace that.
Right.
What should they be thinking through?
You know, this sounds trite, but I think you want to find something you love doing or you have a passion for. I'll give you an example of something I actually worked on this year. A gentleman that I knew in the past and got reacquainted with, just a fantastic guy. He's got 8 kids. And he had this idea, two of his kids started a coffee house and were doing well with it. And they loved the industry, and all of a sudden there came an opportunity for them to consider acquiring a coffee distribution company. And I happened to be representing that company as it turned out.
Casual, convenient.
Yeah, they bought that company. And then what happened is a smaller coffee distribution company called my former client and said, would you like to buy me? And said, well, I can't because I've just sold. It's just not public yet. But call this guy Jeff. Maybe he can help you. They ended up buying 2 distribution companies. They loved the space. They were learning about it. They had a vision. So I think, to go back to an example here, they loved it. They had qualified people, very talented family. They had a nice bench of family people who were going to both invest and participate. So they had really strong, smart people involved. But it was something they loved too. So that's something that I see leaned into a great deal now. Someone who's got an interest in boating, or some, I know somebody in the swimming pool industry that builds swimming pools for people, and they're looking to acquire more. because
And
that's what they do. That's what they love. They see economies of scale, but they also are darn good at it.
yeah, and I think you bring up an interesting point. It's like start with what you love because you may already be doing that, and then look at what are the adjacent industries around that. Because you start with it's like, okay, I would love to have a coffee shop one day.
Yeah.
Coffee distribution, not necessarily my thing, but I have to have a distributor anyways for my coffee shop.
Exactly.
So build the entire vertical out of you own these companies rather than, and like if you still want to own 20 coffee shops, like go for it. And you can do that way.
You're better equipped to own 20 now that you've got a strong
now that you have a distributor.
Network.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're now a distributor. You've got more connections. You're doing your own roasting, so you're more vertically integrated. I mean, it can be a beautiful thing if you think that way, and think holistically. And I give this family a tremendous credit. The way they went about what they did was very not only smart but very thoughtful. I mean, they took their time to work through this, understood what the opportunity was. Talented family around them that could contribute. One of them was involved in logistics. So, I mean, you had a lot of very interesting people. Another very strong in branding and marketing. So, I mean, they had a roster all with the same last name that was pretty darn strong.
That's really convenient, to say the least.
A lot of them had full-time gigs. Some of them were going to move into this full-time. So it was a nice marriage. They weren't all jumping into it. The ones that weren't, some might have invested. They could get involved in other ways, but it became a really cool thing because now they see a vision for the family. They don't call it a family office, but it is to grow and build from there. Yeah.
So going back to coffee shop example, because it's easy. If I own the coffee shop thinking about buying the coffee distributor and I know I'm going to need more people than what I have, not necessarily in terms of like normal employee team members with entry level gigs, should I be thinking about how can I build my network in this industry first before buying the business?
Yes, absolutely. Learn the business. People are very open to talking about this in a lot of industries. I mean, you can walk into, and I'll use coffee as an example. I love coffee, and it's a fun business. It's exciting. A lot of us have a passion for it. You can walk into these coffee houses and just distributors. They'll talk a lot about what they do. Many of them will tell you exactly where the coffee comes from. They're very proud of their craft and what it is they're doing. So learn the business. And the learning opportunities are out there. Obviously, there's industry trade shows where all these folks congregate. Absolutely go to those.
Yeah, I think it's important that it's like there's two types of CEOs, the ones that are involved in their business and the ones that just own it.
Right.
And as the world evolves and changes, the CEOs that I think will be most successful are the ones who are choosing to be in it. Because if you're not in it, what makes you different than a BlackRock owned company?
Yeah.
And so I think saying it's like you need to go learn the trade to some degree is important. Like if you were going to go buy a plumbing company, maybe you don't know everything about plumbing. Maybe you're not a licensed plumber, but you should probably know the basics to not completely sound like an idiot.
Yeah,
when you're talking to those people.
If I was going to buy a plumbing company, I would, and it wouldn't be hard because we've all got something that needs to get done. I'd create 3 projects and I'd call 3 different plumbers. And I'd come in and I'd chew their ears while they're in my house. Ask them everything, and they'd be talking. I mean, it might cost me more because the hourly's going to go up, but it's an investment, Aly. Okay, let them fix my drain, let them fix the sink, or I got a leak in my refrigerator, my ice maker, whatever. I'm going to learn about the industry, and you're going to start picking up themes pretty quickly. Where are they buying their product? What issues do they have? Who's doing better warranty work than? I mean, it's amazing what you can learn. Just immerse yourself in it.
And I think that also protects you from getting into something where you think it's one thing and it's not.
Well, that's right. And Peter Lynch, the legendary investor from many, many years ago, used to say, his method for buying stocks is really find something you like. And if you see people going to these stores, buy that stock. He was really all about finding something you had an affinity towards.
Yeah, absolutely. So when people think about growing a business, buying a business, do you recommend that they grow it the traditional way, or would you say go buy other businesses?
I think it really depends. I mean, this one family office was opportunistic. They didn't know this other business was going to come on the market, nor did I. But they were smart enough to look at it and say, wow, I've got to grab this thing. It's in my geography. The customer base is different. It's beautiful overlap. But that wasn't what they set out to do. They didn't dream to buy another one. They were going to take the first one and grow it. I think it's a matter of being very open. If you want to have a strategy, you should always be looking. I agree with that. Because right now, particularly, there's a lot of businesses coming on the market with the aging owners.
Yep, absolutely. So always be paying attention.
At 1,000%. Don't go to sleep and talk to as many people as you can. Seriously, as many people. Realtors are often a good source too. They know the buildings that are going up for sale, and they can give you the backstory. Why is that building going up? Well, the guy's closing the business. Why? There's a lot of good insight you can get by just getting out of your shell, and it's not all on the internet. Get out in front of people.
And I think as technology, as AI take over, the in-person is going to start mattering more and more. It already has. But the thing I keep coming back to is earlier this week, I was reading a study that board games sales have increased by 8%. And on kids' Christmas list, physical toys have increased by 16%. Because we're tired of the technology. Like, online businesses are great. Remote work is fantastic. But everybody wants to be at home from work. But the people we need are the people who are willing to be in buildings, in businesses.
No, absolutely. And you've got to be able, and you get your best deals done sitting across the table usually. You just do. It's what it is. And you build the relationships. You know, if I take on an engagement, let's say it's more than 500 miles from where I am, I want to go there several times. I want to go there to start.
100%.
I want to look you in the eye. I want to get to know you a little bit, because all of a sudden we're much better together just by doing that. And then periodic trips can come. I don't want to be that person in the basement, you know, or in the home office all the time. I mean, if that's really what you want, I'll do that. But having one or two at least in-person meetings, we shake hands, we break bread together. That's a powerful thing.
And I think that's where business owners fuck up the most. Is that they want everything to be via 100% remote, 100% via Zoom. It's like, no, if somebody that you're trying to get as a client is 5 miles away, go meet them for a coffee, especially if they're a dream client. Why do a Zoom call? You can't, you are 10 times more likely to close them if you go take them to even the cheap coffee shop in town. Right. And if you have a client, and if you have a client that you've been working with for 5 years, even if it's on the other side of the country, once every 2 years, go be like, hey, call them 2 weeks in advance and be like, hey, I was thinking about flying out there. Can we meet up? And we'll do whatever, go meet your customers, because that is going to so rapidly increase your client retention.
You know, what we're doing now, we're face-to-face online, which is great. But there's a lot of people that are trying to close you, and for whatever reason, they're not even on camera. I'm thinking, what is that about? Why? What are you hiding? Are you in the broom closet or what? I mean, let's make eye contact. It's amazing how often I see that. Calls get scheduled. Oh yeah, well, we're just going to do a phone call. I'm thinking, well, how do I even know who you are?
Who are you? Are you even a real person, or is this an AI that you got really good at?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a little skeptical. I work in AI half the time.
Right.
And it's fascinating because it's almost like they're stuck in the old school of let me cold call and close people the old school way that worked in the 70s and the 80s. But it's we have Zoom. We need to see people's faces now.
Yeah, that's right.
And if we can see them in person, even better.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think those are the people who will be most...
In any business where they're never on the phone call. I mean, I had a call years ago where we were saying goodbye to a vendor, and we learned on the eve of the meeting it was the last time we'd see this vendor, because the people were all getting transferred off our particular account. And our project lead announced at literally 1 minute till 8 o'clock, we're all going to be on camera today. And we're kind of supposed to be on camera anyway.
Yeah.
We were. But let's just say one person showed up on camera and it was a disaster. There were screenshots galore of this particular person because she clearly wasn't ready, and it sent the wrong message that she wasn't prepared.
Yep.
Whether she was or wasn't, I don't know in that particular call. But it didn't send the right message, Aly, that's for sure.
Yep. It's interesting of even being on Zoom calls, who shows up in suit and tie and who shows up in t-shirt, which granted I'm in a t-shirt and a blazer, but
You look professional.
how you show
sharp.
how you show up matters. And I think people think we can put technology can cover up the fact that it's like we don't need to show up professionally. No, you still need to show up professionally. If I'm going to go meet somebody in person, yes, I'm in like fancy jeans and a blazer. I'm not going in like my University of Alabama t-shirt that I still have from 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Gotcha. Absolutely.
Yes. So looking back on your career, you've been around the block a couple of times.
Yes, I have.
What is the advice you wish you could give yourself 20, 30 years ago?
Be patient. I'm not a terribly patient person. I've become more patient over the years, but take it all in is the other piece. And again, the transplant taught me that. Enjoy the ride while you're having successes and while you're having fun. Take a second to breathe and enjoy it.
How do you practice patience in a world that's going a million miles per hour?
I try to wake up slowly. My faith is a big part of it in terms of taking the time to contemplate, read my Bible, read a devotional. I do those kinds of things because it grounds me. Mm-hmm. And I really, I hear this on different calls. My wife and I start every day thinking, what are we grateful for? And you know what? Don't use the same three every time. Okay, maybe one or two of the three. That's okay. But there needs to be some new stuff in there somewhere. Maybe we had a great meal the night before. Maybe we helped a friend with something and we're grateful we had that opportunity. Whatever it might be, that's a big part of it to me, Aly, just being able to sit and just be a little contemplative and reflective. Now, when it's time to hit the accelerator, I'll hit it full blast. But you know what? Don't hit it the minute you wake up.
Do you see that the most successful CEOs and business owners are the ones who have slower mornings?
I hear it both ways.
Okay.
I know a lot of them are early risers and get it going. I'm not an early riser. My best work's 4 or 5, 6 o'clock at night, Eastern time, even in the evening. That's just who I am. But I do think it's about figuring out your rhythm, and if you're an early morning person, then get the work done. Either way, the trick is to find that quiet time, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it might be, where you can be, if possible, uninterrupted without all the chimes going off for an hour or so.
Yeah, it's interesting. The more leaders that I talk to, the ones that feel like they have their act together a little bit more are the ones who take time for contemplative practices.
Yes.
And the ones who find time in their schedule every day or every other day to do the deep work for not just like 1 hour. Start with 1 hour if you have to, but 2, 3, 4 hours of uninterrupted times.
Yes.
Where entire days where they don't take calls.
Yeah, I haven't mastered the entire days not taking calls because these things can be a blessing and a curse. But you know what? You've got to do more of that. All the millions of stimuli we get with text messages and new alerts, the weather alert, whatever it might be, doesn't matter. It's still an annoyance and an alert. But you're right. Being able to get in your zone and stay in your zone, and you may not be able to do that for 8 hours, but you better find a window where you can, right?
Absolutely. So, Jeff, who are the people that should come and find you?
The people who should come and find me are those who are trying to figure out what's next in their business. There might be succession or exits, but there also might be growth challenges. You kind of hit a plateau, or maybe they're going the other direction. They're just hemorrhaging. They're really struggling, and they might need someone to talk to. They might need someone with, I'm a leader. I'm an operating executive, not a consultant, so I want to get my sleeves rolled up and work with you. That's what I do. I think the big thing too is they're open-minded enough for us to have really good dialogue. I don't pretend to have all the answers by any means, but we have to dialogue with each other, not you have it all figured out and I'm just, I'm just cleaning up after you.
Yes, I know those leaders. Yep.
Yes, we've all worked with them. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So what's the best way for people to find you?
They can find LinkedIn's a great way. I'm pretty responsive there to DMs, or, you send me a connection request, send me a note with it if you want to. Or you can email me. This is a long email address, but I'll give it to you anyway. It's easy to spell. It's jeff@transitionyourbusiness.com.
You have such a great URL. I know when I sent you that email and you replied back, I'm like, that is a very nice, easy URL to remember.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the show today. For everyone tuning in today, thank you so much for joining. And if you are looking for a marketing agency but don't know who to turn to, you can skip the grunt work and schedule a free strategy session over at perissonnetwork.com. That's PERISSON network.com. And we will see you on the next episode of Humans of Growth.
Thank you, Aly.